It's I always confuse the days now. It's a Tuesday, right, Desiree?
It's a Tuesday. Yep, it's Tuesday. African Child's Day.
Oh my goodness. The days in these lockdowns. We're gonna remember this time. We're gonna remember this time.
True.
How you doing?
No, I am good. I am good.
It's good to have you.
Cannot complain at all.
Good to have you here, and
Thank you
thank
for
you.
having
Yeah,
me.
thank you for taking time to have a conversation with me. And today we're pretty much going to be looking at Namibia, um, and Namibia and the landscape, the film landscape in precise, and in general how Namibians are doing in terms of telling their own stories, telling the African story, um, and also find out about who Desiree is and how you've been contributing on the film landscape. So to probably just kick us off in this conversation, could you kindly just give us a little brief about yourself? Who are you? Which tribe or culture do you represent? Are you truly born African, or you're one of those that joined in later?
Well, my name is Desiree, middle name Bakumwa,
Hmm.
Kahikopo.
Hmm.
I am from the Herero tribe,
Hmm.
and which is, I mean, yeah. And let's see, what else? I grew up pretty much in a small village called Ochimbingwe,
Hmm.
just to the west of Namibia. In the west. That's pretty much where I went to school. But then I
Hmm.
moved quite around from school to school a little bit because I mean, my mom just liked to move me around. Apparently, just go stay with that aunt, go stay with that uncle, come back here, kind of thing. So, so yeah, and then yeah, so I mean, I've always had a love. I mean, I started very young, writing poetry. That was because I was always quiet and reserved child.
Hmm.
And so poetry was sort of like a thing that I did quite a bit. I mean, from a very, very young age. And some of them, one my mom framed, and then the others just got lost in translation. But yeah, I've always had a love for just, for creativity, for
Hmm.
just the creative industry, the creative art, whether it was music, dancing. I mean, at one point I thought I was going to be a singer, and then,
Hmm.
that didn't work out. And so, yeah.
Excellent. I think it's always good to know one's true passions from when they're young, which is one of the things we're trying to advocate for the African child to be recognized through their art, through the things that they love most. Our African
Yeah.
parents would rather have you do the things that they've done if they're finance
Yes.
guy. They'll hope my daughter or my son is going to follow through the same path. And it's always been that
Yeah.
narrative. We push you to what we know is good for you.
Yeah, or
And
or 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 what they see somebody else's kids doing, like
mhm.
Matthew's kids are both geologists. Like, why don't you
Yeah,
do that kind
exactly.
of thing as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's interesting. So Namibia, just tell me a little bit about Namibia. That's one country I haven't been in Southern Africa, and I hope I'll definitely visit soon. So just what is Namibia like? What are you guys friendly as what they say is Zimbabweans love to claim that they're very friendly when you visit them.
No,
Uh,
I think we took I think we took that one. I think that is ours to claim in terms of, just friendly people in Southern Africa. That
uh-huh,
would be Namibia.
right. So
Yeah. But yeah,
how's the
yeah.
landscape like? How can you describe if you're a filmmaker and you're asked to describe how Zambia, I mean Namibia is like? What would you say in your own few words?
I mean, I think Namibia. I mean, as from a let's say from a film perspective is ideal in landscape
Hmm.
from every angle. Yes, we are predominantly sort of we are desert, But ultimately, when you go towards the north, you've got a bit more of the lush green happening. So you have a bit more of that tropical feel in a way. And obviously, we've got the coast side, which is we have the Atlantic Sea, and you've got the dunes too, the gold dunes. And then when you go down to the south, there's a little bit more. We've got the Kalahari, the east, we're going down the south. We've got the Kalahari, and then we've got the Sossus Flag, which you get the beautiful sort of like reddish, dune. I think in terms of just landscape, I think just from a cinema perspective, I think we are very ideal. We've got mountains, and so in terms of landscape, really, whatever story that you want to tell and you want to capture, just just beautiful landscapes. I think in Namibia we have. And we have small population. We're about I think right now 2.6 million.
Wow.
And we have a very we're very small, growing population. But hey, we are independently now for just 30 years too. This year 30 years. So we're pretty young. We're pretty young. We're just kind of getting into our own right now.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think let's dive straight into the main reason why we're here. We want to talk film, specifically in Namibia. But I would love to also just understand your film background. Your lower thirds there says award-winning film producer director. Tell us about your film career so far.
I'm very old, like Namibia too. I'm very new and young to the film industry in Namibia, in Namibia to start. But I started off in theater, for over more than 12, 13 years now. Around 2006, I started off enrolled at the theater school at the College of the Arts as a drama student, and that's kind of how I got introduced into just acting. I've also and then while I was there, I got into performing. So I joined a dance group, where we did a few where we did professional performances for corporate companies and just corporate events and music videos, Namibian artists in terms of choreography and all of that. But I've always wanted to. I started off wanting to just tell a story, but I was mostly acting. I was like, cool. I wanted to be on stage and I wanted to act. But I think being on. So when I went into theater and then being on stage, I realized that I actually loved behind the scenes more than I did being on stage. So years passed and just kind of like working within the backgrounds within just the theater industry, because the film from where I was in it seemed something that was just a little far away from me. It was like some elite group that I never pictured. Like it felt like you had to kind of go through just things few steps before you can even just think to get there, in essence. So it was not something I was like, you wanted and you admired from a distance, but it didn't seem that easily accessible for me. So theater was always easiest access to me, but it was always because I loved the theater, so it was always my home in that regard, and just performing on stage. But then here and there, I would get get called to be an extra in one of those NGO productions.
Yeah.
Standing in the background somewhere, or and then I moved up into just leading a few AIDS, HIV and AIDS short films and those things. But it wasn't up until I think 2010. Where we were coming from this production that this theater production that we were doing in Germany. We came back to Namibia, where I had all of these ideas for television shows and television programs. So then I contacted a man who I've done a few of I've acted for, and I knew he had a production company. So I pitched him my ideas of what I had. And then he said, okay, no problem. He likes it. So he said, let's start working on it. So it was a few children's show. Just something like Sesame Street, but it was a children's show. It was called Maya and that Maya Meerkat. And then I was working on a few ideas for just talk shows and just sitcoms and stuff like that. So we're working all of this stuff, and we got a few people in to start working on it. So of just like Hussein as a whole,
Right.
just, that, from that perspective. And then, having to go through to the national broadcast and sort of the idea to get it on yes.
Nice.
Trailer or some of the ideas that we had in terms just we can have a visual representation of what we wanted to do. But then obviously that didn't work out well because he ended up just taking everything that I worked on and then just sort of fired me. And so from there I got so discouraged. So I went off the radar when just in arts completely. But then for some reason I still kept writing scripts and stories, and that's kind of how it started off for me to, within the film industry.
Wow. Quite a story. I mean, we all have these sad stories when it comes to being in the arts industry. Ideas are stolen, or your project that doesn't fall through, or you don't get funding. So it's always it's always a hard on when you're part of this industry. We have. I'm just going to acknowledge a few.
I mean,
people.
when you're. Oh, sorry.
No worries. Let me acknowledge Tafadzwa here joining us from New York. Derek Mpofu, a Zimbabwean artist joining us from Zimbabwe. We have Maison Tazichka. I'm going to try and say this name. This should be your relative. Ignacia Kahikopo. How do you pronounce?
That's my mom.
Oh, that's your mom?
That's my mother.
Hey, Mom, how you doing? So sorry if I butchered your name there, Mom. We have Esteline as well. He or she says Namibia is a very beautiful country. Please visit. I'm definitely gonna visit.
You should. You should.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna go. I'm gonna play one of your productions that you're involved in. When we come back, we talk about that more. But I just want to have people have an appreciation of some of the work that you have done. And then when we come back, let's discuss more about the film career and also Namibia. So we'll be back after this.
Okay.
Wat sal nou gebeur?
Vanaand lê ons hier. En môre kom die son op.
The story has just begun to fade away, but my heart has just begun to beat again. We are one, don't cross the line. Can we try?
Liewe Sylvia, ek is so bly dat jy die brief gekry het. En moenie verskoning vra vir wat jy geskryf het nie. Ek is so bly dat jy vir my vertrou. Weet jy, ek mis jou teenwoordigheid in my huis. Vir eens het dit nie eensaam gevoel nie.
Wat maak jy so laat uit met 'n cover my?
Die cover werk vir my suster. Ons het 'n laatfunksie gehad. En nou moet ek haar huis toe ry, daar in Katatura aflaai.
Karakokure no bandumbo ba pabo. Karakokure bekurera rukuru.
Ek was dom om te dink jy is nie soos die anders nie.
Is nie soos die anders.
Nee, jy is.
I'm crossing the white line. I'm crossing the white line. Hey.
Wow, the white line. That's it looks like a deep story. I mean, these are some of the stories that many of our African nations haven't been able to tell about the liberation struggles, issues to do with racial injustice, and many other things. In this production, you were the producer director. Give us a run through about the story and what led you to come up with a film like this.
The inspiration I had, it was I was still in I was in America visiting in that. As I was just on the civil rights movement. After that finished, I just to myself, I'm like, how come we have got all of this history, within Namibia? How come I haven't seen it being told just from film perspective. So, and then just right off the bat, the name, name came to me, the white line. So I just wrote it down. I wrote the white line on on my notebook, and then just left it at that. And a few weeks later, I was scrolling through Facebook, and then I saw something that Kondwana Lodges had posted on the massacre that happened in the old location massacre. And I was like, you know what, that could be it. So, and then I went back to it, and I just sort of like roughly came up with an idea for the story, around it. And so when I came back to Nam a few months later, I met Michael. He was working on something else. So I met him and I spoke to him about we're talking about just art and film. And then I mentioned I've got this film idea that I've got. And then then we left it at that. And then I went back. And then when I came back again, he was like, no. So, talking to, some people. So what, do you still want to work on this? I'm like, sure, let's do this. So that's how we sort of like got into working, on the white line. And then, a girlie came in, because we've been friends for a long time, and we were acting together when I was doing theater. And so I told her about it. She's like, she was interested. So we sat down and just tried to okay, what type of story do we want to tell within this? Because the way I was approaching it at first, it was more of like, okay, cool, just blatantly, black people are bad, white people, this is the situation, and, they're bad, and the black people, which is true in essence. But I think having to sort of like talk it over with them, we realize like there's a different angle we can look at this, still, highlighting what happened without having to shy away from, the past and the brutality of what happened in that time in the system at play, but just taking a different approach from. And then I think Gurley said that there was this one person that he interviewed that was saying the story of his mom, that was dating this white man back in the time, and they couldn't meet really. They had to find ways to meet each other and all of that stuff. So we're like, you know what, that's it. Let's tell a love story from that perspective, but then also obviously highlighting, the racial injustice and just the system in itself and what it did to the people. Yeah, wow. And that's kind of how it got started.
Yeah, I mean, it's things like this. I mean, if you look at the system, especially in province and most of the African nations, there are a lot of stories that happened in the struggle to independence that haven't been told. And if you try and tell that story, you're faced with a lot of resistance, either from a sitting government or generally just the society or the people. They're not interested in reliving the past. And if they're part of the story, they want the narrative to be about them and not necessarily about something researched and probably truthful and stuff like that. So I'm really interested in watching this film.
Now that you say that, funny, I even said to do the white, and I was writing a different story that had to do on the Herero genocide of 1904.
Yes.
Where the Herero people and the Nama people were just completely. So that's the story that I actually was busy working on and writing. But then I realized, to effectively tell a story, I needed, first of all, a huge budget, because there's no way that you can first of all, you can recreate 1904 Namibia and you just, and have a great production value for that, with a very small budget. So then I said, okay, fine. But then at the same time, what else then can I do? And I think that's kind of like, where the white line also came in, where I couldn't tell this story with a budget at any point or even just thinking about it. Then, why not just tell, something closer to independence, but then that still also, sort of bites into the same thing.
That's very interesting. But I like the fact that you have pushed to tell a narrative. I want to play a video here. This is called Scars of My People. I think I got it. Yeah, should be the one. This was done by Vincent Malloy. I interviewed him some time back, and it's
I saw
profiling.
that.
It's profiling what you've just mentioned here about the genocide that happened, things that are not told, and people, literally have a story that dies because it's not written down,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's not profiled. There are no images. There's no evidence of a story that it ever happened. So people will live with that mindset and say, "Oh, okay, you're claiming this happened. Where's the evidence? Where's that story?" And our duty as filmmakers is to be able to be in these platforms or in spaces where we are freely allowed to tell the stories, researched, and and all of that.
Yeah.
So let me play this video, and we'll be back shortly after this clip.
Kay kain Juan kira I elo ke wana ua ngora kay resa kaisa insti tsuge ka ku hia ke ikuna having ams en am wa kay dare ida dance di kaupata.
You know, there is a church where the Germans said people should come to the church and we will pray. And my people closed their eyes to pray. But they never said that last amen. Because the moment they closed their eyes, they were all shot in that church. Even if I pray, I don't close my eyes. They brought the Christianity, they brought all these churches, but today they also have the land.
%80 of my people were wiped off the face of my motherland on a premeditated basis after an officially proclaimed execution order was issued.
The Germans, they murdered and they killed my people. And the only reason why they killed and murdered my people was because of land.
Scars of My People. So the idea of the documentary from Vincent's perspective is to not necessarily expose what happened, but also inform people of the genocide that happened in Africa, and particularly in Southern Africa, by the Germans back then. Can you probably take us through, do we still have these structures standing? Is there places where people can go and revisit the history of what happened?
I mean, the church that she's talking about within in the trailer you just played, I mean, it's still there. It's still Kahanja. I mean, there's a few places, a few structures that are still standing from the. I mean, Windhoek in itself, there's certain buildings obviously from the colonial era, in Swakopmund, where I currently am right now, also predominantly, I mean, it's there. You will see it in most towns, it's still there in terms of just the architecture. And yes, and there are those places still, like the church you're talking about. I mean, there's the place where one of the concentration camps was in the south of Namibia, in Luther. It's what called Shark Island. That's still standing. I mean, it's a camping site now and some other stuff, but it was a concentration camp. That's kind of where they held people. People died there. Wow. And one of my great aunts was there. She was held captive there too. that time. So I mean, most of this stuff is still standing. And funny enough, today there was actually a march, a silent protest in Windhoek, asking to remove one of the statues that represent that time of Kurt von Francois.
Right.
To remove it from the city. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
There's certain monuments and there's certain structures that are still standing, which reminds people of the brutal past, and some of them should not be standing.
Yeah, interesting, because that narrative or push has been now evident in most parts of America, especially following the death of George Floyd. We've seen a lot of statues being taken down, and some parts of Europe as well. They're pushing for the same narrative. It's a painful past, and having a statue that reminds you of that, it's like laughing at your face and saying, you know what, we did this, and you still put up a statue for me. But we can't celebrate our own people and put up a statue. If you wanted to lobby for that, you'll be met with much resistance. So it's an interesting narrative, and I'm happy that there are people that are starting to document these stories. Vincent, when I spoke to Vincent, he did mention it took him a while back and forth in Namibia from South Africa to just try and relive the story. And it's out there for us to watch, which is interesting. Let's move into.
I think from that context too. Sorry, just quickly from that context too. I think that film. That would be where film would also come in to just visually really show the brutality of what really happened visually, for people to understand that it wasn't just come work at my farm, or it wasn't just this. It was actually this, and I think that's something that we still need to do.
Right, that's true. Let's move into the Namibian film landscape. There is actually quite a number of international films that have been done in Namibia. Any that particular one that stands out that you'd want to mention, and also just give us an idea of what the film landscape is. Does the government support the film industry in Namibia? What goes on?
Well, when we're looking at the international films that were shot here, that were filmed here, most recently, I would think, at least from my memory now, is obviously Mad Max, which is one of them, and the Tom Cruise version of The Mummy, parts of it was done here too, and I saw just now that the Netflix film, something Red Sea something with Chris Evans, I think. There's part of it that was supposedly done here as well, and also there's a part of the Stanley Kubrick film, 2001: A Space Odyssey. There's a part of it that was filmed here too, back in the day. So just those are some of the international films that were done here. But in terms of just like the local government, we have a government set, which is the part which is the Namibia Film Commission.
Yes.
They're the ones who are in charge of commissioning films and also just promote, just the film industry in Namibia to the outside world, and obviously also Namibia as a filming destination. So right now that's the only institution in that does sort of fund film, and they are a branch from the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology. But the industry is still relative. I don't want to say new, because it has been around for a little bit, but I think right now it's kind of like a toddler. It's still trying to get up to walk. There's a few fall like a toddler does. He gets up and falls down a little bit. Gets up, takes a few steps, kind of thing. So for me personally, that's kind of where I would say this is where the Namibian film industry right now, it's still in its toddler, trying to figure out and trying to walk. But again, we cannot. It's not that there isn't stories. The stories are there. They're brilliant. Story right screenplay writers and just storytellers within Namibia, you know, and even just with this newer generation that's arising now that really is passionate and hungry to build the industry, and just so that it's not just, you know, we're not just telling stories, but so that it's also self-sufficient.
Right.
So we don't have to constantly go back to the, you know, the Namibia Film Commission to ask for money, and obviously, and, you know, beg the corporate industries to just, you know, let's partner up, or, you know, invest a little bit in here kind of stuff. So, it's still relatively new, but I feel like there's so much, I mean, I believe there's so much potential within the Namibia film industry. Honestly, for me, it's just, there's so much room for growth and so much potential for greatness to really grow and just to be self-sustaining in the long run. So
yeah, I believe that too with what you have shared. What I'm going to do also is showcase a bit of other films that are being done in Namibia, and I'm going to try and do the pronunciation of this film here. Don't laugh at me if I do it wrong, okay?
You're clearing the throat.
Yeah, I've been practicing. So I gotta do it right. It's called. So the next film I'm going to showcase, it's called Bahu, and the Giant.
There you go. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So
Bahu and the Giants.
Here's Bahu and the Giant.
Bahu, there is danger coming.
My name is Kubahu. That means I come from the soil. Wiki wiki. My ancestors lived off the land and the animals on it, until men came from far away and filled their minds with greed. I don't know what yet, but he's hiding something.
No!
And then everything changed. Hello? Is anyone here?
Bahu and the Giant. This is a brilliant story in terms of how it was shot, and also that young lady. She has a lot of potential. Tell us about that production, if you know about it, and what's the story?
Well, the film, it's a short film that was done by, which was directed by Florian. He's a Namibian director who I think previously done Karutura as well, a feature film within Namibia. And it was co-produced by him as well, and Gurley Yadama, who's also co-producing The White Line with me, and who is the main actress, you know, in The White Line, and I think Andrew Botella. Right. So they are the group and the brain behind Bahu and the Giants, and I think it was also predominantly done to sort of showcase, and shed a light on rhino poaching within the country, and just the conservation of that. From my limited knowledge of it. Yeah,
I think it's also important.
So it's one.
That it's filmmakers. We're not only just telling stories that happen in our own personal spaces, or just political stories, or any other stories, but also advocating for change of mindset. Poaching is one of the craziest things that happens in Africa, and mostly in Southern Africa, and also in Kenya and other parts there. And if we can have stories that can influence change of heart and probably understanding of the devastation we're causing to our own natural habitats, it's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, no, without taking away from the cinematic sort of lens that you would be telling this with there, than just like an educative. Okay, this is this, but just add those elements in, important still, but we're still holding on to storytelling from a cinematic point of view.
Where do you see the film in Namibia going, the film landscape Do you think it's going to be a money-making machine, given how South Africa has pushed its film industry and the contribution the film industry has on South Africa right now?
I believe that it can. I mean, it certainly has potential too. But then also at the same time, it can be done individually by just, filmmakers as well. Yes, right now we are dependent on, funding, because there's no other source of that. Otherwise it's having to sort of put in your own money, but then we also don't have enough of that to put into our own films, especially if you want, the production value and the production quality that will stand, against other productions globally, and at least from that, or even within Namibia. Hollywood films, are shown here, at the local cinemas and stuff like that. So if we want our films to even just show in those spaces, it obviously has to have a certain quality also, because the audience, as much as anything, they want to see good stories, but they also want to see quality productions within the story. So it can't just be as we can start. We can most definitely start to do that. How? Collaboration, and at least make use of the little funds that we have, but then also at the same time understanding the filmmaking approach from a business perspective. As a producer, I have to look at it from, yes, it's a good story and I want to tell it, but how can I make this profitable enough for me to make a little bit of money from it, but also reinvest it into the next project or the next thing, so that this train keeps going. So, and that at the same right now, it's okay. What can I do? Maybe we can look at whatever story do you want to tell? How can I approach that? Then I call a friend of mine. I'm like, okay, cool. You are a graphic designer. I need this. Can you please help me out? Can you design this for me? Or you are a sound person. I've got $10,000 only. Can you help me out with this? And when I say that I have 10 grand, literally I just have that 10 grand. I'm not trying to use you and take advantage, but like, this is what I have. But can we do this together? And then maybe a part of it you can sort of put in as equity within this product, that when we do release it, and make sure that we do release it, that we both can benefit financially from it. Then when it's just like, okay, I make a film, I pay you, and then you go about your business, and then I go about my business, kind of thing. So it's gonna take everybody together, working together, and understanding, like, it's not about right now, and it's not about gaining right now, but it's about building to get to that next stage, to get to that place where we can all reap the fruit of our labor truly, and not hustle that we've been doing and that has been done for the past. But I definitely believe that there's so much potential to really get there and get the industry there to that point.
I believe that too. I'm going to play another one, The Land of the Brave, and I'll also play at the same time Itandu, and then when we come back, we'll talk about just the level of production in these films shows that there's way greater potential, and I think the media houses that are well equipped to even do better and way greater things. I want us to talk about Africa in a whole. How well is Africa collaborated? Are we working together? Are we networking? Or we're still, confined in our little homes and saying, you know what, it's my story, it's my equipment, it's my money. So I'll play this too. When we're back, let's have a conversation around these issues.
Hoor gou hierdie ene. Jy wag vir iemand om lekker gemaklik te raak in hulle lewe. Lekker te settle.
Boeta, hier is groot kak.
Dan vernietig jy dit.
Maksha. Megan is weg.
Jy red soos as jy wil. victim was shot, then she was decapitated.
Messie, dit kan van enige kant afkom, nie noodwendig myne nie.
Your gun?
My gun was stolen.
Did you have anything to drink?
Cheers. No.
Wasch mich doch hier.
Holy shit.
Wees die wasch mich.
Cause of death, decapitation.
We have a serial killer on our hands.
Dit verwag vir Alani.
Jy hom gechase.
Hy was een van die regulars.
Wat weet jy van die verdagte?
Kan ek nie korreksie nie?
Ek sal publish. Net wat.
Lady, out of control.
Chief was right to fire your ass. Ons kan hier restaureer.
Has always said, "Oshififinwa, shashishikula omadi." We didn't see it coming, although they did. They always knew.
Amazing productions there, I must say. Really amazing, action-packed. And
yeah, no, you see, it's there. You know, the potential is there for just growth and better and just reinvestment back, so we can do these things.
Exactly. I mean, it's being done. It's there. I think for me, it's because we haven't been showcasing what we have. As Africans as much, celebrating it, and also just then fostering a lot of collaborations based off what we can do. So for me to be able to say, okay, I want to do a collaboration in Namibia from Zimbabwe, I have to be able to have all this information, you know, at my disposal. Pick on the amazing directors or producers that I think I can work with, because the information is there. I can see the films. There's a platform where the films are, and we're paying to watch these films and celebrating the artists. So we haven't been able to create as many of these platforms, and hence, we're still not as confident when we approach storytelling and say,
that's true.
Africa for action films. It sounds like it's not us. It's not ours. Our stories have to be said and stuff like that.
I know that has been my biggest, like, what is this African story thing? And then it's also just one-sided at the same time too. You know.
Yeah. So I mean, you can go on.
I think, like you said, collaboration is the thing that we talk about and that we really want to do. You know, and ultimately, when you really think about it, it's the thing that will ultimately sort of unite, or steps to unite, the African film industry and make it stand on its own 2 feet, to rival, the bigger, at least start to rival the other bigger industries. But then also at the same time, like, it's something that we don't necessarily follow through on. We discuss it when we meet at markets and at film festivals and, on platforms and stuff like that. But it's just the act to actually really, yes, a few people have been able to do it, which is great, because ultimately. And then also the type of films, I suppose, that we are telling. The film that I'm currently working, I'm working on 2 films right now that are in development. The one is it's a psychological drama,
right?
And that is the one thing that I wanted to do in terms of collaboration as well. So I'm working with a South African producer that I'm co-producing with, and then the person that's writing the story is Patience, girl from. A woman from from Uganda, you know, so it and that is what we're talking about in terms of just collaboration, because I've noticed lately how I'm working on my stories is not stories that are set in one area or can be done just in Namibia, or it's just a Namibian story. You know, it is a human story, it's human experience, you know, from that point. So it can be relatable to everybody else, but also it can be told anywhere within the African continent.
Right.
And it can be told, you know. So that's my approach going forth. With my stories.
Emmanuel Tendai, joining us from Ireland, says, what is the African story? And it feels like putting ourselves in a box. We're literally been living in this box and saying, if it doesn't have a sad story, a child looking all dirty, you know, poverty, and all those things in the film, then it's not representing the African story. It has to show the homes in the rural areas. It has to show the animals. But Africa has, you know, technology. That's why Wakanda was then done, to just try and tell a different perspective of the African side of a narrative. But that's a narrative, fictional. We want to tell the actual. There are other stories happening in the urban cities that we stay in. That are very interesting, funny, that can bring in comic relief, but also some that are very political, some that is investigative. All these stories.
Some is just a fun comedy, you know, just about, you know, whatever, two people in a city that just, you know, just trying to make it, or whatever it is, you know. So, you know, people forget that we have progressed from what Africa was then, or what the narrative that was being put out about Africa. We've moved on from that. I mean, there's social media now, you know, that showcases a different type of Africa from the pictures that we take and, you know, the videos that we do in that regard. So if there's a child, you know, that grew up, for say, in Windhoek, never went to a village, never lived in a village their whole life, you know, went to private school, and that's their life, live in the upper class neighborhoods, and that's their life out there. What type of story will this child tell? So if this person tells their story, then we will look at it and be like, yeah, but that's not an African story. Why are you copying Hollywood? But that is their experience, that is their life, and that's how they live. You know, some of the stuff are influenced by Hollywood, and who cannot? From the time that I could switch on a TV and watch films or TV shows, it was Hollywood that was coming through. So somewhere, any part of me will be influenced by that. You know, and I've noticed the films in the African markets, when you look at South Africa and some in Nigeria as well, that do well are those ones that people say that is not an African, that is Americanized film. But those films do so well at the box office. So what does that then say about the audience that will watch our films? Then our audience then must be Americanized then too at the same time. Otherwise, why would they then, you know, why would they watch? Why do they have DSTV, for instance? Why do we have Netflix, if that's it? Because they want something different. They want entertainment. They want that. So if we can take maybe that, and then obviously tell it from our perspective, putting on our people on those screens, and still entertain the population and still entertain the, wouldn't that be way more profitable that way than me trying to tell a story to fit into what we call the African narrative?
So tomorrow, actually, now that we have mentioned all this, tomorrow, or is it Thursday? I'm gonna have Robert Peters. Robert directed the Mugabe story.
I saw the trailer of that.
When we showcased the trailer, there was a big roar from Zimbabwe. Oh, why did you use this main actor? He doesn't represent our person very well. And I was like, you know what? This is how filmmakers behave. We want to tell a narrative. Zimbabweans are not as brave enough to tell the Mugabe story from the home ground, because the political setup is not as conducive for us to be able to do that. Even to tell the story of the sitting president now, it's terrible. To even tell a story for an opposition leader, it's treason for some. So it gets interesting
100%,
for filmmakers in Africa when the setup politically is still as it is. But it's amazing how South Africa has evolved from that kind of mentality, and the filmmakers have certain level of freedom to tell stories, narratives based
in whatever shape or form that they imagine it to be.
Exactly. So this is one of the things I hope Africa will evolve into. A hub where the stories are freely told and they're very true to the setup. Nigeria, for instance, Nigerian movies, when they started to just spread out back in the day, I mean, they were so true to their homegrown narrative. If it's about witchcraft and the Christianity mixing in one film, I mean, they'll tell it according to how it's happening in their societies or in their communities. So we need to be able to get to that stage where we are comfortable telling this story and pushing our own narratives from home. So when the apro for Mugabe film came, I was like, you know what? At least someone has done it, and from then on, we can have so many versions of Mugabe film. This is not
like we have so many versions of Mandela,
Of Mandela,
so why not?
This is not to say, okay, there is a Mugabe film, so that's it. We're gonna have so many versions of these stories. And funny enough, I've been watching the series on Amazon called Hunters, about the Nazi and the Jews. The way the story is told in a series, I mean, you get yourself thinking, wow, for me, in Zimbabwe, what happened to Mbuyane and Osekuru Kagui back then in the 1800s. I want to visualize and understand what went through her story of struggle, and how a certain part of a people were wiped out by the colonizers then. Imagine having that narrative now and telling that story.
Funny enough, there was I mentioned to a few people, there's this story of this one man within Namibia who I was like, oh my goodness, I would love to tell Clemens Kapuo. And I was like, I would love to tell, because he was assassinated, during that time. So it's like, I would love to tell his story. And then I remember being told by various people, it's like, don't do it. Don't wake up things that are sleeping, or don't, just they were like, if you want to, live a peaceful life, just don't try and touch that type of thing. So I mean, it's that, but then again, somebody else would come and then they would tell that story, and then, so it's just like you're saying, like so sometimes our structure, prevents us from really telling certain type of stories. But I mean, if we had, especially if we are dependent right now, let's say for instance on government funding. So, but even if we had different funding coming from somewhere else, I mean, you can tell whatever story however you want to tell it. And if it's, just maybe you can also just go into exile after that. That would
be. There's so many that have gone on, self-imposed exiles, because they don't know what's going to happen after they tell a certain story. So it's. Yeah. I mean, it's.
But I mean, I would like to think that Namibia is free enough for us to be able to tell any type of story, however that is, and the truth of that story, without having to feel like I have to leave the country afterwards.
True. Let's talk the life during COVID. The industry got a bit of a shock, and being locked out as filmmakers, as storytellers. What are the new opportunities in trying to tell stories during this kind of a setup? What can we do? And where do you see this thing going? Is it going to be the same, or is it going to be a different way or style of making films or creating content?
I mean, personally for me, like, yes, it's happening right now. It's a pandemic and we're living through it. But I mean, ultimately it will pass, and things will we'll progress from here, in that regard. So, I mean, at first it was like, okay, cool, because we had a premiere at the time that we were planning. So when the state of emergency happened, we had to, shut all of that down, and it has affected, I mean, creative industry has been affected so many ways. And also because, the government doesn't necessarily see the creative industry as an essential, industry, to be looked at and to be helped in that regard. So it's like you're on your own type of thing, right? But I mean, at the same time, too, within the lockdown, I think it also forced us to sort of like evaluate who we are, and where we want, especially for me, and whatever filmmaker I want to be and where I want to go from henceforth. So. And then also at the same time, as much as it was locked down, my mind wasn't locked down. I could still think and create from that point, and then and just sort of like write and just create in a way that it sets itself up. Like once things do move from this phase, and we are able to go, because in filmmaking, you need people around, like on a production. It's difficult. It really would be difficult. For, especially with the guy, yes, it's not impossible, but with the way the mindset is right now in terms of social distancing and all of this, and the fear of the virus, it makes it a little bit difficult to even just think, how can I go shoot a film in this right now? I can't. I mean, it's difficult. It's impossible. How can I set a theater show right now? I need an audience. I can have them, have it and then, screen it so that they can watch it on live, but it's not the same thing. It's really not the same thing. We need, not all of us are fortunate for our films to be on the streaming, platforms. Some of us, maybe our films were to be released on theater, and that's where we would make some sort of profit from, whatever it is. But all of these things are cut for now, but it's not the end of it. So how do we then now within this set ourselves up? Because I mean, look at the Spanish flu sort of did the exact same effect, right?
Yeah.
It happened, everything was shut down, you couldn't move, you couldn't do none of that. But I mean, even then, it passed and people went back to a new normal, as the term that is going around now. But it was still a normal in a way. So right now, what type of person am I going to be right now? Who do I want to be when I get out of here? What do I want to do? What am I setting up for myself that is just ready to go once it opens up and I can do things? And rather than just me sitting here and waiting for things to first open, and then I'm like, okay, great, it's open now. What can I do? What can I create? So I've been sitting and I'm not a script writer, but but I don't have money to pay for a screenplay writer. So I'm like, just sit down and write.
Yeah, that's true.
So that is what I've been doing. I've been writing a screenplay and just writing proposals and writing, just a whole production thing. So once we get to that point, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm ready to go in that regard.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity to open up yourself for new skills development and see what else you can do.
Definitely.
If you can write more, then you have to. And by the way, I'm now self-proclaimed web development guru. So if you want a website done,
you see,
I can work your EPK, make sure Desiree is out there in the world. People know her. Yeah.
Clearly, I'm gonna be. I mean, once I get the motion going in this on this new project, I'm definitely then coming to you for EPK and stuff.
Nico is your guy. You better tell all your friends Nico is the guy and stuff like that. I'm going to play the last video here. One of the productions that you're a part of, Fish Out of Water. We'll talk about that one when we're back, and then just conclude this conversation. So we'll be back after this.
Cool.
How's everyone at home? I'm in the escort business.
Señorita.
Can I help you?
Nice to meet you.
When it comes to Damien,
do you really know who you are dealing with?
He's being nothing but a gentleman.
You trust me?
Excellent. So, yeah, tell me about that, the teaser that we just watched. What's the story of the production about?
Um, Fish Out of Water is a film by Vickson Hangula. He's one of the veterans within the film industry.
Mm-hmm.
So he was working on it around back in 2016, and I had met him sort of like discussing the hero genocide script that I had. I was like, I've got this story that I'm working on, etc., etc. I said, okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that on hold for now. But I've got this project that I'm working on, and then he called me and said, so can you do line producing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I've never done that before, but I can learn.
Right.
So Fish Out of Water was really I think my introduction in just production in film. And so I was like, I don't know how to do land producing. I have no idea what that is, but I can learn. So after I said, okay, no problem. So I went to go Google, YouTube. I'm like, okay, cool, this is what it is. So, and then I was just put there to just figure it out. And I had to learn as I was going. It wasn't just, and then, just do everything from production management to, the runner who picks up the actors and drops this off, and to that person. So I was doing pretty much a lot of the stuff on the set, and that, which was actually, at the time I was complaining, but afterwards I realized it was actually really, really God given, because it prepared me for the white line. So I had somewhat an idea of what that was and what I could do on and what was needed on a film set or just in film production in that regard. So that was a great lesson that I had to learn.
I think that's one of the beauties about being a filmmaker or being in the creative side of things. It allows you to play out roles in so many departments. You just have to open yourselves up, and then you get to specialize, and people get to know you as this brilliant director or producer.
Especially if you're working with you're working with a small budget, like that is what you need to do. Like this, you cannot afford to get a location manager, you can't afford to get this, so you just need to learn to do all of those things. You can't, you don't know, the PR person, you can't afford a PR person. You need to learn to PR your film. So it's all of the skills that you learn and you have to do.
Excellent. So we're rounding off. What would you tell to a filmmaker that is probably stuck right now, thinking, where is the world going? Are we going to be able to come back and do films again? How can we collaborate with Desiree or the Namibian film makers? What can you tell the filmmaker right now who's watching?
First of all, this is just a phase. Yes, it's a pandemic. Yes, it's scary, and things just don't look stable, and things it doesn't look like there's a light at the end of the tunnel at this point in time. But like everything else, the storm always will pass. So it's difficult to get your mental state that way. But once you do get your mental state at that point where this too shall pass.
Right.
So then what do you want to do after this?
Right.
What are the lessons that you have learned being stuck at home, being locked down? What type of shows were you watching that really, really, your family were, because we are all together as family members, like what type of show was my sisters enjoying that they were watching? So maybe that is what they're looking for right now. So maybe I can work to create that. So there's always opportunity within a tragedy, or there's an opportunity within this pandemic to really look to see, who am I right now? Who do I want to be? And because I can't get out of this pandemic with the mindset that I had coming in. Then all of this was really just a waste. It was a waste. Right. So I think it's just like, this will pass. So just believe in what you've been doing and who you want to be, and the vision that you have, and just work towards that. There's really no limitations apart from the ones that we place upon ourselves, and and the ones that, even the ones that the society that seems to be there is really not there. You just got to push them. Yes, it's difficult, but you got to push those barriers to break them.
Yeah.
And Namibia is open for collaboration. Anybody from anywhere in the country, in the African continent, in the world, like, we are here. If you want to collaborate with us, just, we are on Facebook, we are on social, Instagram. Just send us an inbox and say, this is what I want to do. I've got this idea. And we work together, because I mean, it's time that we sort of break the barriers and the borders also, within the creative industry and just work together to build it.
Yeah. I'm happy to hear that, and glad we've had this conversation, and spoke in length about the things that you're doing in Namibia, how the Namibian landscape looks in terms of film production. It's amazing. Where can people find these films? We've showcased so many films from Namibia. Where can they find these films without rushing to see? You said which one? The Tom Cruise one?
Mad Max.
Mad Max.
Was it Mummy? The Mummy.
We don't want to rush to watch that. We want to watch the films produced by Namibians. Where can we watch them?
But then that's the other challenge when it comes to, I think, not just Namibian film producers is the distribution opportunities, and I think that's the one thing that I've heard discussed over and over again, and how we can make our films accessible. I mean, yes, right now Netflix is there, in terms of from Africa, but not all of our films can be there, so we can't access that too. And Amazon Prime, we can't get that here I can't get Amazon Prime here in Namibia at all, so I can't even get it on those platforms. So I think that's one thing that we also kind of need to work at, so that we can sort of have our films accessible, but then also not for free, so we can also make a living from it, but then make it accessible for people all around the world that want to see it. So right now, I think Bajo and the Giant is on Afroland TV. That's pay per view, so you can see it. You can see it on there. But the others, my film is not out yet at all. So it's not on any platforms. The White Line, but the other films, I'm not quite sure. I mean, that is just like having to go on their personal Facebook pages and just kind of ask them where they can, where you guys can watch their films if you want to see them, for the directors and the producers of those films.
Okay. That's interesting. I think while we're talking about platforms, if you can check on the lower third here, we're launching our film. Where's the pointer? Yeah, there we go. I got it. We're launching our platform on the 1st of July. The platform Who Have New Faces, Fresh Stories, Your Voice, and it's one platform. It's going to have a variety of content that people can access and watch on one platform. The idea is to exactly take care of what you've just said. Access to our content. We've done all this content, but we don't have access of it. Or there's no platform that is showcasing what we're doing. So on the 1st of July, this is an introduction to what the many other things that is coming our way, so that we will have this platform that will showcase, and on the same platform, I'm trying to push people to, especially our filmmakers, to have our short length films or full length films be on that platform as well, so that people can access them and watch the films. So it's going to be it's called a film hub. It's your story, your platform, on the same Play Africa TV online platform that will start its services on the 1st of July. So 1st of July, go there, subscribe, be a member. You're gonna have access to free content for probably a full season. And then after that, you'll be able to pay so that the filmmakers can earn a living out of the content they're producing.
Yeah, definitely.
And what I've also said with the film forum or the film hub that we're launching, it's going to have content from almost anyone. So if you think your film was a $10 production and it doesn't meet the Netflix, the Amazon standards, we are giving you a platform. Put it out there, get people to watch it. I mean, they'll comment, they'll give you feedback, but the idea is it's somewhere and people can access it. And
people can have access to it. And definitely.
And we create a whole vibing industry in Africa, and a platform that people can proudly utilize and do that. There is also Kweli TV. Kweli TV, I was actually speaking to the founder and the owner of Kweli TV. And I'm probably going to have him for an interview next week. Kweli TV is already running. You can go and access films on there. He's based off Uganda and Kenya there. So content from that side of the world or that side of Africa is available on Kweli. So go there and check it out. So it's
cool.
It's going to be interesting. And thank you very much for being here. We look forward to the many things to come. And I look forward to developing your EPK soon.
Definitely.
And telling more African stories together.
Definitely. Well, thank you for having me. This was fun.
Thank you. Thank you guys for joining us. Tomorrow, I'm having Rati Mambo, based off in Australia. She's a Zimbabwean actress doing very well. She's got an amazing film that was done about the South African apartheid, which is actually showing right now. So it'll be another lively conversation. So I look forward to that. And
I will be tuning in.
Many other conversations that are happening in the next few hours on this platform, Play Africa TV, and many other platforms. So keep looking on the social media platforms and see what's coming up next. But thank you again for joining us. I hope I'll be able to spell these names correctly. Mita Kambo. I'll try and sound foreign. Mita Kambo. I would actually pay. She says I would actually pay to watch anytime. Your mom says I'm super proud of you, girl. And she says I wish you all the best, Nico. Thanks, mom. Thanks, mom.
Looks like you've just been adopted.
I have, mom. Thank you very much. Emmanuel Tendai, thank you for joining us from Ireland. Esteline, thank you. And Amanda Notando. Amanda Notando is actually one of the content contributors on Play Africa TV, launching very soon. So look out for a show.
Oh, cool. Okay, we'll do.
Yeah, and Shingi, thank you guys for being here. And Tafazwa, Yolanda Chambarami, she's another amazing actress. Profiled her here. So many other people who are here. Thank you for joining us.
Cool.
We gotta go.
Thank you for everybody.
We gotta go, and can't wait. And Tavazwa wants to binge watch all your productions. She'd hope that they're in some platform right now for her to be able to binge watch over the weekend. But yeah,
I wish.
All right, so we're gonna leave you.
We're working on it. We're working on access.
We're working on access on our films, definitely. All right, guys, we're gonna leave you, and thank you. Bye bye for now.
Ciao.
Bye.
Cool.